Hello, my name is Alfonso Gomez.
Hi, my name is Cynthia.
My name's Maya. I am 16 years old.
Hello, I'm Logan.
Hi, I'm Hannah. I'm 18.
Hi, I'm Danielle. I'm 17 and I identify as gay or lesbian.
I guess I identify as queer. I identify as lesbian.
Transgender. I identify as a boy, which I wasn't previously, obviously.
I currently identify as a genderqueer person who is pan-romantic but asexual.
I identify as bisexual right now. I like guys more, but it's still complicated. I'm still figuring it out, to be honest.
Identity's been a really big issue for me for I guess the last 15 or so years. I mean, I can't think, but I actually knew I wasn't straight, but at the same time I thought it was normal until probably around 4th grade, where my mom, I think I like low-key came out to her and she freaked out to the whole family, and I was like, oh, this isn't really normal. So the whole like, oh, I only like boys really set in for me. But during middle school, a lot of girls came out as like bisexual, and it gave a really big platform for me to come out. And so I was like, okay, I'll join the trend, and I'll be like, oh my god, I'm gay, but I'm actually gay. It's really scary, but all my friends have been supportive. I've gotten nothing but support. I mean, the hate is non-existent. If anything, it just had to come with the controversial things that I've done later on in high school. I officially came out on National Coming Out Day on Facebook, and so most of my family members could see it, and they were very positive with that reaction. I told my mom a little after that, and she was like, oh, that's it? Like, you're gay, so what? But we cried, and it was really cute.
I didn't know I was gay until I was like 15-ish. I had crushes on boys throughout all of my life. I had lots of boyfriends in middle school. Whatever. And I first thought when I was 15 that I was like bi-curious, and I would look at girls and think that they're cute. And I told one of my friends that I thought that I was bi-curious, and then I said that I was bisexual, and then I told another one of my friends, and they were the two that I told everything, and I didn't tell anybody else in my life for a good 2 years. And then I came out to them as gay about 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago. And I slowly told people. I didn't even really tell people, I just hinted at it a lot, and a lot of my friends found out eventually, just from the way that I acted. And I didn't actually come out until October of 2015 on National Coming Out Day, because I wanted to make it official. But people knew that I was gay mainly because of how I acted, and because I got a girlfriend when over the summer last year, and when I was posting pictures with her and stuff like that, people assumed that I was gay. But it was a struggle to come out. It kind of sucks. I'm lucky because everybody in my life was extremely supportive, especially all of my friends and my family, which was so nice, because when I told everybody, actually, like for real, they all said I know. So it was comforting, honestly. But I went through some deep, dark stuff and depression that was triggered by being gay, and it's really not something that I should have gotten so worked up about. And I feel horrible for people that have to go through things so much worse than what I went through because of people in their lives that aren't accepting. So I hope for the future that it's easier to come out. And it was easier in 2015. It was kind of trendy, honestly, for people to come out as gay, and I don't know, I guess the world became more accepting of it, which I really like.
Oh yeah.
identify as a genderqueer person who is pan-romantic but asexual. And it's been weird coming out as that, mostly just because my family isn't homophobic. I've had no problems with that. It's just it takes some explaining to explain what I identify as. So it's a little interesting to tell them there's a difference in genders, and there's interesting telling them I like them all, but I don't want to have sex with them all. And so they're kind of they don't put me down in a sense, but they kind of just brush it off, like, oh, you just haven't had sex, you don't know what you like you'll figure it out later. They kind of only really acknowledge the binary and like gay, lesbian, and bisexual. They don't really acknowledge anything further from that. So I wouldn't really say they're opposing me in any way in coming out, but I feel like they just are ignorant in what there is. And so that's the only troubles I've had with coming out to my family, is that it takes some explaining, and then even with the explanation they don't really get it. And so I kind of have had to dumb down what I identify as for them. So I've kind of told them, yeah, I'm basically bi. That's kind of what I had to tell them, just so they kind of could get it. And I haven't even begun to explain gender to them, because they wouldn't really get that at all. So it's kind of just, I just like people.
Come gather round me over at zero. Admit that the water is surround you.
Sorry.
Accept it soon, you'll be drenched to the bone. If you die.
Coming out was a kind of confusing and difficult thing for me, I suppose, because I was not sure how my parents would react, because my mom and dad are kind of opposites. My mom's very accepting of things, though she sometimes has those moments, you know, the parents have, where they're like, oh yeah, I love making like weird comments about things and embarrassing you in public. So that was a little nerve-wracking, especially with my dad, who is kind of conservative, I suppose. Like, he's sort of just like a strange person. So basically coming out wasn't like a whole thing like, hey, what's up, I'm Logan. It was sort of, we were having an argument, and at one point she's just like, why are you so upset sometimes, and you act so different around your friends? Because I had come out to my friends and they called me the right name and all that, my parents of course, but it was sort of weird, because I just out of nowhere wasn't even relative to the conversation. I just said, I want to be a boy. And the conversation ended. She's like, yeah, we'll talk about this later, because we're about to pick a friend up. So a few weeks pass, and we're driving to school, and we have another little fight, and we start talking about it, and I have some weird breakdown sort of thing, and I'm just trying to explain it to her, and it was just confusing. And she's like, I thought it was my fault, I thought I wasn't such a good womanly person in your life and all that sort of thing. So for like a year, this was like end of 8th grade, beginning of freshman year, sort of summer. During the summer we just did not even talk about it. I think actually at one point I asked if I could buy a binder, and that's when I got my first one, and it was kind of weird because it wasn't very comfortable, but it was fine. So it was better than nothing. So eventually the new year started the summer of freshman year happened, after freshman year, and at one point she's like, we should tell your dad. We should tell him, because if we don't, it's just gonna have this thing where we're gonna have a gap between you two, and it's not gonna be a fun time, obviously. And so obviously we went out to my favorite sushi restaurant, and we decided to break the news and ruin that one seat in the far left corner of the restaurant for me. So he did not take it very lightly at all. He kind of decided that wasn't gonna happen at all, and he's like just denied it or whatever. And my mom was trying to convince him, because she's my mom, you know, she's cool. And basically it just sort of didn't click with him, and he usually does research into things, and he decided not to, because it was just never gonna happen. So, you know, a couple more months pass, and I think I got another binder or something, but eventually me and my mom started talking a little more, and I was like, oh hey, people can identify however they want, stuff like that, talking. And then a few months pass and we have another little spat. This was actually recently, like a month or two ago, and it was a big spat. She's like, why do you never want to talk to me after school? Like, why can't you talk to me about things? Why is it that I can only talk to you about school and nothing else? And I just said I couldn't talk about what I wanted to talk about, which was being myself and all of that, because it was hard to have a casual conversation when you're being referred to as the wrong person all the time. I had to have a neon sign and be like, yeah, I'm transgender. And he's just like, what? Transgender? You didn't say that before. And I'm like, I don't know what other kind of thing you mean when I say I want to be a boy. So eventually he's just like, well, Lindsay, this sort of thing is new to me, and this is a direct quote, disturbs me to my very being.
I just run out of things to say. I know you'd understand.
I continue doing my thing, and that whole experience kind of influenced me to write my poem that we did during the slam poetry thing. And so I performed that, and I showed it to my mom at one point. She's like, wow, this is really good, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, I think you should show Dad. I'm like, no, we're not. And so she shows my dad. Apparently it's puzzle pieces fit together, but then no hands do apparently. And he's just like, I am willing to call it broken and my son. I'm going to try to work with it. I just didn't understand. So, things are better. They made an announcement to all their good buddies and friends, and nobody's been like, that's stupid, you little weirdo. Nobody's done that, which is nice. And yeah, it's been better. It's been getting better. I'm having less anxiety about things, and basically things get better. And they are.
So I have to say I love you.
Since I could remember, I've always been different. I always knew that, and I've always been trying to figure it out. Middle school was like a real nightmare, because that's basically when you start questioning your body and who you are as a person and who you like, and that's what happened to me. Middle school was like one of the worst years of my life, kind of because of the school I went to. The school I went to wasn't very strict, and they were very lenient on bullying. They didn't really care. People bully each other all the time, and I felt bullied, but like more passive aggressively, not intentionally on purpose, where it can be seen. And middle school, I always knew I was very different, and I was very confused about what I liked. Freshman year of high school was when I realized I was basically bisexual, and I didn't know how to go about it. It's basically something that was always in the back of my head, and throughout my freshman year it kept growing and growing and getting bigger and bigger, the thoughts in my head, and I pushed it back. I didn't really think about it too much, but like from time to time it would always be questioning up, bubbling up over and over again. And I actually wrote like a letter to myself. I basically wrote, like, I typed up in my phone on my notes how I would come out, and I kept adding things to it throughout my freshman year, and it kept getting bigger and bigger to basically it turned into a speech that I just typed into my phone. And I knew I was going to come out, and I did, but I never told myself, like, officially, like I never confirmed it to myself, which is pretty weird. It was basically all subconscious thoughts and decisions that I made subconsciously, not realistically. And then on the last day of school, my freshman year, I knew that I had to make this decision, and as soon as summer started, I went to LA to visit my grandparents, which I do every summer. And the day that I left to LA, I came out and I put it on Twitter and Facebook. And I just copied and pasted the speech that I wrote to myself. And I wasn't thinking, I just did it.
When I was younger, like in elementary school, I was like, oh yeah, I like boys. Oh, it's okay. Like, I'm gonna get married to a man. And then like later on, probably around 8th grade, I was like, you know what? Girls seem pretty cool too.
I was somehow
And then I came up to my mom about that, and she was like, well, I don't know, you should choose one. So that was a little hard for me. So, and then I got into high school, and then I was like, yeah, I don't like boys that much, so, or like at all, so I'm just gonna go with girls. So now obviously I identify as lesbian. And I came up to my mom again freshman year, like, oh, I'm actually like lesbian, I like girls, so yeah. And when that happened, she was kind of upset, because, you know, I'm her oldest daughter, so she was like, oh, you're supposed to be girly and all that. So she like makes me put makeup on and stuff, like all that girly stuff, but you know, what is it called, stereotype? And then, what else? My dad, when I came up to my dad, he was okay with it. He teases me now and then, but that's okay. I tease him too, so there you go. And when I came up to my actual family, I didn't actually like come out. My mom like was on a camping trip, and she like told everyone. So like I had to come out at like a barbecue, like not really, it wasn't, how do you say it? Like I had to explain things to them, because they're like really, really Catholic and Latin, so that's like not okay. So like they deny it right now, and like it's hard, but whatever. And I don't, whatever.
Who are you?
My name is Christopher Hines, and I am gay.
My name is Neadra James, and I identify as queer.
So I'm Dane Callahan, and I would identify with being gay.
My name is Terry DeBoard, and I identify myself as gay, but I guess the appropriate term would be lesbian, but homosexual, gay.
Okay, so we'll start with Melissa Kermsey. And what else did you want to know?
these arms, eyes wide open.
The thing to understand is that when I was young, or even in my 20s, the term coming out didn't exist. It was created later. And so the notion of coming out of the closet, which is what it means, is a relatively new term. And so my coming out story is quite late. I was in my 40s before I ever told anyone about this, or told my family and things like that. So it was just a sense that I had that the time was right, and also how I felt emotionally about it. So started with my immediate family members, and moved from there to friends. And at that age, to tell you the truth, the actual process of telling people about that was really easy, because I was secure, confident, and the time was different.
Naked as we came.
So I was supported by a lot of good friends that I came to know when I lived here in the Bay Area, and those people are from all walks of life, and there wasn't anybody particularly. I worked with people who already were in long-term relationships, same-sex relationships, and that certainly was helpful in knowing those people. There wasn't any backlash at all. The really most wonderful thing was that everyone was very supportive, very comfortable. I would say that family members, particularly my parents and things like that, not as easy. It's described as people maybe knowing you in a different way and suddenly discovering that you're someone else in their mind. And so that's a little bit harder to deal with. But friends, they were actually much closer after I talked to them about this than they were before.
Wow, coming out. It's kind of interesting because, and I think this is common for a lot of gay people, a lot of people saw it in me before I saw it myself. I was probably 19 years old. I had dated many, this sounds terrible, what a tramp. I had dated many men. I did, this always sounds like terrible. I slept with several men. You know, I probably slept with as many men as women. I didn't really think of myself as gay, and then I joined a softball team. This always sounds so stereotypical, but I started playing softball for Santa Monica College, and there was a couple gay people on the team, and they kept saying, you're gay, and I'm like, no, I date men, I like men. And then one semester I did, I met a woman, and I just fell madly in love with her, and after that, I then told my family, and they were very cool about it. I'm very fortunate. My father actually, his comment was, oh, I've done that since she was 12 years old. I mean, and like I said, you know, I think for a lot of us, other people see it before we see it. And very true for me. And so, dated men, slept with men, met a woman, went, wow, oh my God, you know, yes, I really do like women. Maybe I am really gay. Slept with one more man, such a tramp. And then after that went, yeah, I'm gay. I'm definitely into women. It's been interesting. I think as a woman it's much easier to be gay amongst men. I mean, in my career in law enforcement, I was very open. And I think most people assume anyway when they see me, especially men. But my experience was that there were some issues, some problems, but most of the time I feel like I was treated somewhat fair, most of the time fair. Wait, hang on, I gotta think about that one.
You got time. No worries.
Yeah.
Okay, she edits it.
Yeah, so on a better
I'm starting to think. You know, I've had some weird experiences. Things like at the county, somebody turned in a note saying something about the lesbians. There's only 3 women in the whole department of like 40-something men, and somebody turned in a note about lesbians. I should have brought that for you. And it's something about they're evil, evil, evil. But then they said DeBoard. They mentioned my name, and they're like, well, DeBoard's cool, but you know, it's like, so it's really weird for me. And I think that women in general kind of get a break compared to men. I think that people accept 2 women being together, and men are, you know how men are, you know, ooh, right on, yeah, 2 women together, I want to be a part of that. And then gay men, it's a little harder for society to accept, especially men, and especially in macho fields like law enforcement or firefighting. And so I think that compared to a lot of men and compared to some other women, that my experience was pretty benign, and that I had a mostly positive experience working in law enforcement, and was always very open about it. So.
Queer. Actually, a femme queer, gender queer, in fact.
I don't
It's
have
more
all those
complicated.
labels yet.
Coming out, let's see.
Oh, yeah.
I was 19, freshman year of college, actually 18, so somewhere between freshman and sophomore year of college. And at the time I came out as bi, and but definitely was more interested in women than guys at the time. And over the years, I'm 36 now, I have come to understand myself as queer, and I don't identify as lesbian or at all. And it has a lot to do with just how broad the category queer is for political reasons, and being able to identify with people in other groups, and or just feel like in solidarity with other folks, and also just understanding my gender a little bit differently, and then I feel like, and when I first came out, I was like, oh, I have to like be butch or femme, or like masculine identified or like feminine identified, but I wasn't either of those things, or at least the way I did girl wasn't really typical. So over time, this word genderqueer became a possibility, and that felt really, seemed to fit. So that's kind of where I put my hat, but my parents were cool. How do I tell people? I don't know. I just live my life, and my life's pretty queer, and my friends are all queer. So I'm just myself, and it seems to be something that people pick up on relatively quickly without me having to say much directly about it. What about you?
For me, what did I do? Coming out, well, I came out when I was 21. I was also in college, not a freshman. Maybe had enough credits to be a freshman. That's another whole nother story. No, I was coming out. I was really depressed at the time, and I didn't really know why. And I actually figured it out that it was like I wasn't accepting that. And I realized like that is really the missing link of why I wasn't feeling well. And so I just started telling people like on random moments, and I'd be like, you know, I gotta tell you something. And like the first time I told someone, I cried, and it was like this whole melodramatic moment. But as I started telling more and more people, it became easier, and then it just became like normal. It was just like, it is what it is. I introduced myself. I didn't feel the need to come out anymore. I just felt the need to live my life and like, fill in the pieces, I guess.
Yeah, that kind of happens. Like after you're just done coming out.
Yeah, it just kind of is what it is. As far as the gender stuff though, is interesting because I guess I don't personally identify as a man gender-wise. But I think other people would say that I was genderqueer. I don't know that I'm offended by that label. I just don't really use labels describing my gender. I think I actually do typical girl really well. I do. I don't know. I just consider myself a man. I think that we actually need to broaden the spectrum of what a man looks like, or what how a man presents his gender. So.
And then my coming out was in my early 20s. It was 1986, so I was 23 years old. It was after many years of dating guys and it being unsuccessful over and over and over and over again. And I had a friend who was a lesbian, and I thought, maybe I'm just missing the boat here. So I actually asked somebody out, which was the most nerve-wracking thing in my entire life. I went on a date, and it was like, wow, this is kind of fun. And then like 4 months later, I met Lee, and that was sort of the end of it. I came out first to my brother within months of my first date. And that went well, expectedly. I mean, he's pretty cool. And then to my friends, I was out to almost everybody, really, except for my family. My blood father, my stepfather, my mom, all my aunts, all those people. I wasn't out to any of them. Until Leah and I got really serious. And then I had to, because I was, we were going to move in together. And so I came out to my mom first. She was really chill. She was kind of sad and kind of scared, and more scared than anything because it was still the 80s. People were still getting gay bashed. And she was more scared that I would be unhappy, I could be hurt, that I wouldn't be safe. I came out to my blood father after that. He was really chill about it face to face. And then after he died, I found a letter that he'd written to a friend of his, totally not understanding why that had to be this way. And then the response letter that the guy had written back, and my dad had kept it all these years. So I hope my dad had I think he did have some peace with it. Lee was really there for him when he was dying and stuff, and very supportive. And he seemed very good about it. And then I came out to my stepfather after that. He was horrible. Said that being gay was, did he say unnatural? I can't remember. was not normal, and I was normal, and therefore I wasn't gay. I was like, okay, whatever. It was a fight, and it resolved like 20 years later. When Lee and I decided to get married in the church, he changed. His attitudes towards us changed. He stopped being really confrontive and combative and stuff. And it was sort of like, yeah, okay, they really are going to make a commitment to each other. So that was cool. And then the other weirdest thing that happened was I asked my blood father when we got married in the church, which was in 1994, should I invite my grandmother, his mother, my grandmother, and his sisters, my aunts. And he said no, that he didn't think that they would understand, and that I shouldn't. And I had not come out to them yet. And so I didn't invite them at his suggestion. And then after he died, and they met Lee, and they all fell in love with her, I got in serious trouble for not inviting them to my wedding. Okay, that was like, Mexicans, and they weren't invited to the wedding. They were like, so I got in trouble for that. So coming out wasn't too bad. It was sort of a very conscious decision. I didn't feel too threatened by it. It's always hard to tell your parents something, no matter what it is. That's not what you think their expectation for you is, whether it's you're not doing well in school, or you're dropping out, or you're quitting your job, or whatever it might be. So, none of it, we all build ourselves up to what we think our parents want to see in us. And we're usually wrong. Usually our parents just want what's best for us. Most parents.
I really hope that gender and sexuality is taught in schools. I think it can be taught with sex ed. I don't really think it needs to be anything different, and I think that it's important to teach them, especially when they're young, because I know I started figuring out I was a little different in like middle school, and I know for a lot of kids it was the same, so I had sex ed at the same time, so it kind of was like, it would have been beneficial to learn about it like that way, so that I could realize that I wasn't different, I wasn't wrong, that it was okay. Thankfully I have the internet, and so like my generation is a lot more privileged in that sense that we get to, use the internet and things to figure out what we are and find a place that we feel safe, whereas past generations didn't have that. So I really hope that the internet can be used in a good way for future generations to continue that sort of like communicating, because I know that when I first started figuring myself out, I found other people online who identified the same as me, and it was really like inspiring to find other people who were much older than me or even younger than me identified as the same thing, and it was like, okay, I'm not crazy, I'm not anything strange, I'm perfectly fine. It's just I wasn't taught this, so I thought it was wrong. And so I really hope that for future generations we teach it more, so that people are like, even though that we see a lot of bigotry and a lot of homophobia and things in like the media, I hope that we can teach it so there's like both sides. We see the media showing the crazy extremes of homophobia and things like that, but we also are taught the good side of it, so we can kind of get that balance.
The thing is about the future is I just want there to be some sort of support line for everybody. I want there to be a safe place, not just like there's always, it's a bad example, but there's gay bars, right? That's not a safe place for a 12-year-old who might think they're gay or something, or they might think they're trans. Like, they can't just go in and be like, talk about what's wrong. Places, they won't have support for people that might be queer. And so I really hope in the future that there will be people and organizations that will have places for younger LGBTQ people to be able to come out and be comfortable with the people there, because if not, there's just going to be a lot of scared kids that don't know what's going on. And it also in the future, I really hope they teach more.
I really want to see kids who are, especially in community, be confident with who they are. I've been seeing a lot of that around, and I'm really, really happy for that. But I hope and it's probably not gonna happen one day, which is really pessimistic, that there isn't gonna be any hate towards our community, despite anyone's religious beliefs or despite anyone's, like, I guess, morals. Perhaps being gay is not morally right, and that's a little concerning for me, because it's not our choice to be gay. But another thing is that I really hope for kids to realize that it's okay to be confused, that it's okay to think something's a phase, and it's okay to be angry at who you are, but it's at the same time, I don't want them to be sad about who they are. Where am I getting at? I just don't want kids to be sad over their sexuality, because it's not worth grieving over something that you cannot control. It's not worth it being angry over something you can't control. And I wish I learned that earlier. I'm still trying to learn that right now, and it's a really hard process. And I really hope that no one goes through the pain that gay kids have to go through with not knowing who the hell they are and how they fit into society.
I don't know. I hope that someday people aren't gonna kill themselves over this, and it's a horrible thing to know happens, but I don't know. I'm happy.
So my hopes for the future, like for the future generation, like as a teacher, because I want to be a teacher when I get older. So I want to be able to like be comfortable around the kids, like being gay. So like if I were to have like a wife, I wouldn't want like the kids to be uncomfortable or anything like that. Like I wouldn't want to like make them uncomfortable, but it would be weird that they would be uncomfortable because it's not fair. Like I have a band teacher now, and he's like married. He's like, oh yeah, my wife, and that's like a family. Like I want it like that. But I'm scared like when we get to that point, or when I get to that point, it's not going to be like that.
Hopes for future generations. It's funny, I was actually telling a story about a kid from a challenge day my very first year who was like in 7th grade and was getting picked on because he was like just not gender normative for what boys are supposed to be like. And it was just so cool to be in a place to be like, it's okay, little guy. There are places in the world that you can be in and people will love you. Like, hopes for the future that queer communities continue to grow and thrive, and that we protect the most vulnerable of us, trans women, trans folks of color, a lot of trans youth who are homeless. Queer youth in general make up the largest homeless youth population in the United States. Queer youth make up the largest population of depressed youth, or youth with mental health issues. So yeah, I hope that policies get better, educational policies that protect young people in schools, specifically trans kids, and I hope that parents educate themselves around the gender spectrum, and that there's nothing wrong with your kid if they're gay or if they're different. And I hope that the way we think about family changes. Yeah, what do you want?
I just was gonna say, I think all of that, of course, and then my biggest thing was like how we raise children who, just children in general, allowing kids from the time that we're babies to be themselves, and whatever that means, whether that means queer or on the gender spectrum somewhere, like whatever that entails. I think I'm reading a book right now called The Velvet Rage, amazing book, and it talks about how gay or queer young people are the only minority raised differently than the group that they belong to. So they're raised as straight children. Even people of color who are raised in an all-white family are raised as a person of color.
That's interesting.
So it's different for gay people in a straight world. And so I think that would be my biggest thing, as well as all the policy and all this stuff, is just that we as families start just accepting our family members for exactly who they are and raising them to be such, and just the amount of like health benefits, especially like socially and emotionally, would be, skyrocket.
Coming out is just erased from our existence, because the idea is that who people are attracted to, who they end up in loving relationships with, should just be a part of life. And the idea of needing to hide or not talk about something, and then later, at some point in life, come out of the closet, which is where the term comes from. My dream about that would be that it just doesn't exist like all other matters that are in this whole area, and that I think that we're increasingly coming to a world where that's possible. A lot has changed in just a short period of time. And for people who are my age, that short period of time is really accelerated. I mean, this is just literally within the last handful of years, maybe even within the last 2 years, we've seen an acceleration that we just didn't expect to see in our lifetimes.
It's hopes for the future. What I see happening that's really exciting is all the stuff that's going on politically. And as I said before, things that I didn't think would happen, maybe ever. And with what's been going on in the South and the anti-LGBT transgender bathroom laws and all the stuff that's going on, and the businesses that are pulling out of states that are, the ones, same with the marriage, when they were refusing to grant gay marriages, and businesses like Google saying no, and these giant, huge, Fortune 500 companies that mean tons and tons of dollars and jobs to these states saying, no, if you're going to be a bigot, we're not going to come and work in your state. We're not going to bring our business to you. And that's the kind of thing that really talks. We can all march and hold posters as much as we want, and we did for years and years and years, and nobody cared. But when people with lots and lots and lots of money start saying, we're not going to give you any, then people stand up and say, well, we want your money. And it makes change. And hopefully then that change brings people, people in the communities are more comfortable coming out. I mean, we moved out here from San Francisco like this, scared, because we were moving to a place we had no idea how we were going to be treated out here. And we're nice people, and we luckily moved in with people around us that were nice. I don't think you were ever at the first house on the cul-de-sac. We had retirees on either side of us, a family with young boys, teenage boys across the street from us, a new family on the other side of them, and everybody was cool. We were the girls. Same thing my mom used to call us when we were first together, the girls. And Josh, and then Kate came along, and, everybody was like literally standing there waiting for us to drive up when we got home with Kate. And very wonderful people. And then moving, and we moved to you guys, and again had wonderful neighbors. Not just you, but everybody that was around us, even the Mormons across the street. We brought ourselves to this neighborhood, making a commitment that we would never not be genuine. And it's been amazing, And when Prop 8 was going on, and the vote had happened, I had two women who are devoutly Catholic, who are friends of ours, Italian, both of them, come to me and say, we voted against it, even though the church said we should vote for it. Because we know you guys, and we couldn't do that. Which, one person at a time, you try to make an influence on, and maybe you do and maybe you don't. But if you can, that's, the more we're out, the more we're safe as a group throughout the country, throughout the world, the more people will get to know us, and the more people will go, oh, wow, they don't have an agenda, or they're like normal people. And oh, look, they have a car, they eat food, they care about their kids going to college, they want to have kids. So they get divorced, they have fights, whatever. They're just like a lot of people. So that's, I think, what my hope is. I think that's where we're going. Maybe you'll get to see more normalcy in your lifetime. I think my lifetime will still be a discovering period, and there's still going to be problems, especially in the Middle East and stuff like that, and Russia and places where they're not willing to open up as much. I think we're starting to see the Catholic religion open up a little bit with this new Pope, which is kind of amazing. Mormons are kind of opening up, and then they shut back down again. Like, yes, no. But I think that's all. Parents don't want to shun their children. And when they're told to do that, it's like, well, maybe the church isn't for me, because I don't want to shun my child. So, who knows? That's my hope, is that.
Wise men say
only fools rush in, but I can't help falling in love with you. Shall I stay